21 male, and this experience happened last summer while I was on vacation at Myrtle Beach with my family. We were staying in a resort right on the beach and we're on the 13th or 14th floor in a sort of timeshare. One night I was feeling restless and having a hard time falling asleep, and at around 3 AM I decided to go out on the balcony to get some air. I stepped out and was stunned as there was a full moon and the moonlight on the water was really beautiful. The beach was completely empty as far as I could see, and I had never seen it like that before. I decided since I wasn't able to sleep anyway, I might as well head down and take a stroll and listen to some music to relax. Hopefully when I returned I'd be able to get some sleep. It was really unsafe and dumb of me, but since it was 3 AM and the rest of my family was asleep, I decided just to head down without letting anyone know where I was going. As I thought, I'd just go down there and chill for about 10 to 15 minutes, then come right back up. So at the base of the timeshare we were at, there was an area with a pool, an outdoor bar and then 2 boardwalks separated by about 100 feet, which both led to the beach. On the sides of the boardwalks there were swaths of tall grass separating the ocean and the resort. When I got down to the base, the entire area was completely deserted and I started walking down the boardwalk on the right towards the beach. As I'm walking down, I suddenly see someone approaching me from the beach, which was strange because I had a pretty clear view of the same area from the balcony just before and had literally seen no one. I start to get a bit nervous as I see this figure approach, and as I get closer I see it as a man, maybe in his late 30s, who has a backpack on and is wearing glasses with large square lenses. As he gets closer I get a clearer look at him as the boardwalk is sort of illuminated by lights from the outdoor bar. He looks very on edge and alert, almost like he is trying to find someone who is trying to meet him in this area, and his clothes are somewhat tattered. We made eye contact and I sort of nodded him and passed. At this point I'm creeped out, cause honest to God he had a sort of Jeffrey Dahmer look. Maybe it was the glasses, and it just didn't seem like he actually belonged to the timeshare. I shake it off and keep walking down to the beach and put my headphones in. As I get down to the beach I turn right and start walking parallel to the water, and I'm just taking in the scenery. I'm barefoot and decided it'd be nice to walk just along the shoreline, so I move closer to the water and continue walking. I'm walking for no longer than a minute before I get a really strange feeling that something is wrong. I take off my headphones and turn around, and I see a dark figure that is trailing me just up the shore. He is situated between me and the timeshare. I immediately can tell from the figure's height, body type and demeanor that it's the same man that I passed on the boardwalk. At this point I'm starting to panic as every story from Let's Not Meet is rushing to my head. At the same time I'm trying to rationalize as it feels too surreal that I may actually be in a dangerous situation. So I remind myself it could just be a coincidence and the man decided he also wanted to take a walk on the beach, and just happened to be headed in the same direction as me. So I take some breaths and turn my head back to the ocean and continue walking in the same direction. After a couple seconds I turn my head back again and see that now he is much closer to me, and is not walking parallel to me but is definitely actually walking towards me. I pick up my walking speed now and turn my head back around and see he is matching my faster pace and is still walking towards me and the water. So at this point, to truly test it, I do a 180 and completely change directions, and as I turn my head I see him completely change directions with me and continue closing in distance, and he is power walking now. It suddenly hits me that I'm in a really bad situation and I take off and run along the water, and he starts running as well, but stays up the shore so that if I try to run up towards the boardwalk he will intercept me. I'm freaking out now and just keep running with no plan, but figure that since I'm 20 and sort of fit I should probably be able to keep running along the water and outrun him, and then find some sort of exit of the beach and either call my family. I should probably be able to keep running along the shoreline. And outrun him, and then find some other exit off the beach and either call my family or head back to the timeshare. So I keep running, but he's keeping up with me, and this goes on for what feels like 10 to 15 minutes. The scariest part of all of this, which I wouldn't have thought of, is that it's completely dead silent. All I hear is my breath and feet on the sand, and when I turn I only see his shadowy figure upshore keeping pace with me. Suddenly up ahead in the sand I see a small blue light, what looks like 4 people on the beach with a blanket, and they're a bit offshore. I turn and look at the figure and bet even though they're offshore, I can beat him to these people, so I start sprinting towards them with hopes of quickly telling them what's going on so we can all confront him. I really use up my energy sprinting towards them, and as I approach, my heart drops. What I see is 4 guys on a blanket with 3 or 4 handles of hard liquor surrounding them. 3 of the handles are completely empty and the 4th is about half empty. 3 of the guys are just completely passed out on the blankets, and the last is half set up, obviously beyond shit-faced with a sort of party hat on that has blue lights on it, and he's talking to himself. His eyes are half closed and he doesn't even register me approaching him, even though I'm no more than 5 feet away. I turn and see the figure has slowed down and is observing me, and then I see him make sense of the group state and suddenly start sprinting at me. As he gets closer, the half passed out guy's blue light illuminates him, and I can clearly see it's the same guy as before. I make eye contact with him and I can see he's wide-eyed and looks almost manic, and is barreling towards me at full sprint. It seemed like I had underestimated his fitness, and since I had just sprinted towards this group and exhausted myself, I was afraid that he might actually be able to catch up to me if we just continue running along the beach. And then who knows what. So instead of turning around and running, I suddenly sprint towards him and to the right, which I don't think he was expecting at all. I catch him off balance and run past him. Literally all the hairs on my neck were standing, and it felt like a dream when you're barely evading someone, but he's right about to catch you. The adrenaline was crazy and I keep running and start to see the timeshare. I finally turn around to see how close he is, and I see him in the distance, maybe 400 or 500 feet away. He's lost a lot of distance on me. I don't waste time and sprint up the boardwalk towards the base of the timeshare. I jam the elevator buttons and leap in, and start mashing the closed up button as I'm gasping for air. The door closes and I hit the button for my floor. And when the elevator reaches, I literally sprint back to my room, open the door, enter and then slam the door and double lock it. I'm breathing heavy, and I drop to the floor just to sit there for a minute. Not believing what just happened, I crouch and crawl over to my room, as I was literally afraid he might actually be able to see me through the window on our balcony, and I enter my room. Let's just say I definitely wasn't able to sleep after that. Guy who chased me, let's not meet again. When my cousin and I were 18 and 16, I would regularly pick her up from her house at night, and we would go down to the beach to smoke weed. We lived in a beach town and would frequently visit different public beaches to try to keep it random, since at this time weed hadn't been decriminalized yet. The entrance down to this particular beach was down a steep road. Once you came down the hill, the road flattened out to a long one-row parking lot overlooking the water. We were always on the lookout for cops driving down, and once they were on the hill, you would be able to easily identify a cop car and make your plan to leave. There were also random cars that would come in and out doing the same thing we were doing, though no one ever bothered each other. One night I had picked up my cousin and we drove down to the beach and parked the lot, right next to the sand, and started our usual activities. The occasional car would come down the hill and park or leave, but for the most part we were alone in the lot, until a minivan came down the hill and pulled into the lot. They didn't turn to park, but sat there for a few minutes with their headlights pointed straight at the driver's side of my car. My cousin and I were getting annoyed, of course, since the car was blinding us and we were debating leaving. Then the car drove towards the end of the lot, past where we were, and turned around, this time pointing their lights directly on the passenger side of the car. Now we were starting to get paranoid and hoped that they maybe were looking for someone, maybe thinking it was a parent looking for their teen partying on the beach. We just sat and waited for them to leave. With relief, they finally started to drive and seemed like they were leaving. As they passed the back of my car, the minivan stopped directly perpendicular to my car, blocking me in completely. We kept trying to look in our mirrors to see who was in the car and what they wanted, giving them the benefit of the doubt, maybe being some kind of space cadet. This quickly subsided when we heard one of the doors open, and I turned to my cousin and said, "We need to get out of here." I quickly turned on my car, an old sedan, and gunned it forward onto the sand, which was the only option, Somehow my car had traction and I managed to turn around at the beach and back onto the paved parking lot towards the entrance. The minivan immediately followed us as I sped up the hill out of the beach. The minivan immediately followed us as I sped up the hill out of the beach. They kept my speed down the street while my cousin and I screamed in terror. Fortunately, I grew up surrounding neighborhoods, managed to lose them after some quick turns and prayers. We never saw the van again and stayed away from the beach for a while. Looking back at this situation, it seems like they could have easily been trying to traffic us, or who knows what. But definitely nothing good. This happened when I was around 20. I was going on a road trip of a sort with a really good friend of mine and his family. Our destination was a concert in a country next to ours, but we would be stopping at night to sleep in the camper we drove in. We hadn't crossed the border yet when we stopped at the first campsite for the night. Now it seemed like a pretty family friendly and safe place, so none of us had our guards up or anything. That night, at about 11 PM or so, while my friend and his family was getting ready for bed, I went outside to get some fresh air. Our camper was almost completely next to the beach, so I went down to the shore to dip my feet in and get some much needed quiet time to myself. On the way there, I passed by a beach shack, a detail that would be important later. As I stood there, letting the waves lap over my feet, I noticed the silhouette of a man further down the beach. But it was a public space for campers, so I didn't think much of it. After being absorbed by splashing in the water with my feet and enjoying the moonlight, I decided to make my way back. Of course it was very dark given the late hour, but I don't scare easily. Now as a woman in the modern world, I usually do stay on my guard after dark. But that thought never occurred to me since I felt I was in a safe environment so close to the campsite. Now as a woman in the modern world, I usually do stay on guard after dark. But that thought never occurred to me since I felt I was in a safe environment so close to the campsite. Anyways, as I was walking back, I noticed that the silhouette of the man further down the beach was gone. But even more worrying was the fact that as I was nearing the beach shack, I saw that someone seemed to be trying to hide from my view behind it. Immediately, I was on alert and called a friend I knew would be awake. I gave the shack a wide berth while talking loudly to my friend about how she was coming to meet me after not too long. I got safely back to the campsite and hopped in the bed in the caravan. I didn't tell my friend or his family, because even though I was scared, there could have been many logical, non-threatening answers to what I saw. I put it out of my mind and the rest of the trip went off without a hitch. About a year or so later, I was talking to my friend about the trip and suddenly remembered the creepy experience. That same night after I had gotten back and gone to bed, his brother had gotten up late at night to get some water. But when he passed the window by his bed, he saw a man standing right there outside looking in the window. As soon as he was seen, the man left, but it definitely creeped out the brother a lot. But just like me, he seemed to put it out of his mind. Now with both of those stories, it doesn't seem far-fetched that the man hiding by the beach shack had followed me back. I really am scared to think about what would have happened if I had been alone.